Jet plane headed up to the sky.
How's everybody doing?
Spread wings and the clouds getting high. We ain't hit a rave in a while.
We're gonna hit everything that we possibly can when it comes to mixing a record, in my eyes. Always think to yourself, what can I do for my client that other people aren't doing for me? You might fall on your face, but I'd rather try. Until you find your ear, that question of like, how do you find your balance? You would know immediately, oh, it's my taste. That's the balance.
We were younger then and now we're unified. South London boys get you crucified and gone.
The first record, pun intended, is called Take Me Back to London by Ed Sheeran and Stormzy. So the first thing I look at is my gain structure. You have now all the drums going through the NLS bus, going to my Shadow Hills compressor by UAD. The UAD one to me is the best one by far, but you can choose the one you love the best. And I make sure that it's hitting at roughly -1. It could be a little bit over, a little bit under, but I want to be hitting my compressor at -1. And as you can see, I'm hitting the compressor exactly at -1. And what that does is it indicates to me that my drums are in the proper gain structure, and that's the loudest thing in the record. So as long as my drums are in the proper gain structure, I know I have room for everything else. So we'll go and look at my two bus now. And look where we're at, -5. So that's the indicator for me. Always leaving -5, -6, -4, roughly in between there, but your sweet spot is -5. It leaves you 5 dB of headroom before you get to 0. So now when you add all your instruments and your vocals, you don't have to worry about clipping.
When it comes to low-end relationship, it could be between an 808 and a kick or a couple of kick drums. It's done a lot in reggaeton, and you've done some reggaeton, so you might have received 3 kick drums, and all of them have everything. You don't have a top one. Every kick has everything. Is there any thought that you put?
Don't you hate that? So yeah, I get that all the time. You just gotta fight through it. One thing with reggaeton, the dembo and that kick on the one is the most important thing. I was constantly reminded by Mauricio and Andres, producer friends of mine. I'll find what the main kick is, and then I'll take all the other kicks out. And if it sounds just as good without all the other kicks, then all the other kicks gotta go. They don't notice the difference. You know, sometimes producers just add stuff because they like to add stuff. Oh, I made this kick real big, and then I'll replace their kick, and then they'll listen to it and be like, oh my God, you made my kick sound so amazing. It's like, it ain't your fucking kick. I come up, I duplicate the kick, I bring the kick down to right under the bass. I do my dip, we dip, and then I put the soothe on to catch anything coming through that I want to control or need. So you'll see the kick triggering the soothe. Now it's important to bring the exact kick down with all the plugins on it because you want the exact trigger. There's nothing faster, and you'll see it working and not hear the bass dip when the kick hits. There you have the first aspect of low-end theory. I use the same technique with the soothe for sidechain compressing on pretty much every mix that I do, except for the people who don't like sidechain compression, because some people don't like it. Sidechain compression works for every genre that's out there. And it's also how much you're going to use of it. If you're going to, you can EDM it where the sidechain compressor is like, but you can do it in a subtle way where, like I said, when the kick hits, the 808 drops out, and now I just gain 4 dB of headroom that you don't have and I have. So when they hear my record, I'll be 4 dB louder. Now the second aspect, you still have it going through the NLS, and we'll check it out with and without real quick. So this is with, without. See it just drop? This NLS is outstanding. My new technique now is I have Shadow Hills, then the R compressor, but this is a little bit beforehand, before I did that, because I really, really love the stick shift on the Shadow Hills. But now just look at the R compressor, because it's the same way when I do have the Shadow Hills on this, because I have the Shadow Hills, it's just running through the tubes. So as long as it's hitting at -1, you have nothing to worry about. So now you're seeing it hitting at -3, and you're saying to yourself, Jay, what the fuck's going on? The one thing that you have to understand is even though you're hitting it hard, Soothe is here to save the day. So now I just added the bass in with the kick. And you can't hear it audibly change. You can't hear the bass dip out. But since I added the bass, we should go up in voltage. But because of the techniques, we're still at -6. We've added no voltage, and we have the kick and bass playing at the same time. People say mixing in analog is so good because you're going through the board, right? And each channel of the board has its own little, flavor and style. And once you run through the whole board, because every EQ is not exactly the same, it gives you these harmonics and opens up your records and gives you depth that you can't get from inside the box. Well, having the NLS is basically having like a big board and running your bass through it. Like I'll see people's drum bus and it'll be like the kick, the snare, the 808 will be all on one compressor getting hit at the same time. That's not me. I treat the 808 different. I treat the bass different, and I treat the drums and the kick different. But when you add the two NLSs in together, like this form of NLSs going on the kick drum are making these harmonics and things going on and exciting things, but it's also doing it on the bass. It's also doing it on any other low end thing that I have on there. By doing that, I'm adding more inflections to my record. It's making my record sound bigger, thicker, deeper, if that makes any sense. So you see how there's no ad-libs? So
Take me back to London.
Yo, I do deals but I never get twanged. Moves that ain't never been planned. No goons that were never in gangs. Where I'm from, chat shit get banged. Where I'm from, chat shit let the 12 gauge drip. Yeah, sick how it fits in my hand.
with effects.
Take me back to London.
Yo, I do deals but I never get twanged. Moves that ain't never been planned. No goons that were never in gangs. Where I'm from, chat shit get banged. Where I'm from, chat shit let the 12 gauge drip. Yeah, sick how it fits in my hand. I don't mix with the glitz and the glam. All these.
So as you can say, it's subtle, but it gives it texture and gives it tone and gives it an ability where a listener can listen to it and get lost in it instead of just being sterile. So those cool things that you can do for your client go a long way. Like always think to yourself, what can I do for my client that other people aren't doing for me? And you might fall on your face, but I'd rather try.
What you do when you get a shitty vocal? Like a really shitty vocal. Would you usually do like this ones that has nobody or no nothing?
Listen to me, we're all in this together, right? So what I tend to do is I'll call the engineer and I'll have a heart to heart. I'll be like, yo man, you're putting me in a bad spot, bro. Like, we need to step this up. Like, really, really need this. Because it's not fair, you know what I mean? Because at the end game, artists, they just want to hear their records on tape. You're like, oh, I sound great, it's amazing, da 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 da. And then when it gets to the mix, and you're like, dude, you sound absolutely fucking horrible. What do you expect me to do with this? You can't say that to the client. You just got to put your head down and go. So what I do is I just try to make it the best that it can possibly be and walk away from it. And that's the hardest thing to do, because you'll chase a vocal. We're all mixers, so we all have what a great vocal sounds like in our head, and we'll chase that and try to dial that in. But how long are you gonna chase it when you realize I can't get it? So when you do this long enough, you know how much you're gonna get out of that vocal. So just don't stress it. Understand that they're the ones that gave it to you. Don't alert them to tell them that it's a bad vocal, because then they'll be like, the mix will be done. They'll be like, well, do you want me to re-sing it? No, I already did the mix. I just took 5 hours to get your one verse right. So no, I don't want you to redo it. So don't wise up a fool is what I tell you, and just put your head down and try to knock out the mix.
The fentanyl free, but the addiction gon' cost you.
So as we can see, this is One Time by The Game.
Lost you. Effing dot your eyes
wonderful
when I cross
track.
you. Stretch made back instead of paying my lawsuit.
So this is my front to back panner. If you look at it, it's very, very simple. It's called True Verb by Waves. The red will be your direct signal. This will be your early reflections, and this will be your reverb. We turn the reverb off and we only rely on the early reflections. So like, I can put the actual source sound behind the mix or in front of the mix by tricking your ears of hearing that early reflections closer or further away. And watch how more present it comes when I take this off. So the way the ear works is the longer you hear the sound, the bigger that sound's going to be. So when anybody ever tells you, man, I wish that kick can just hit a little bit harder, and you're going as hard as you can against that compressor, and you can't get any louder, because if you do, it's going to make the mix sound like shit. Just make the kick longer, because your ear will hear it. If you hear a kick like this, it's barely a, but if you hear this, what's a bigger kick? I'm hitting it the same way, but this is sustaining longer. So all you have to do is get your trim tool, as opposed to so all I did was make the kick longer so the ear can hear it. That's a bar for everyone, like literally a cheat code. Even though you notched and you've taken away that frequency, you can easily add it back, not by the gain, by the release. From here on out, I don't want you to call it release, you should call it weight. If you want to add more weight to the mix, so whatever band you're compressing, if you want it to be heavier in that band, add the release. It gives you more control and it adds the weight that you're looking for. So for example, if I wanted, even though I'm taking out at 271, if I wanted to add more of that back in, I simply will add it with the release.
Lost you, effing dot your eyes when I cross you. Stretch made back instead of paying my lawsuits. Hit me in the Hellcat truck, ducking them. Let it off in the club, it was always more than one shine.
Every section has its own mix. The drums are mixed away, the hi-hats are mixed away, the music's mixed away, and the vocals are mixed away. And then they all end up going, because they've all been mixed and basically mastered individually, and they all go up to the two-bus, and they barely hit the two-bus. So this is a good time to go into what the God particle is actually doing. If you don't let your original transients through, you're never going to have an open and beautiful, exciting mix. So instead of you guys thinking about like, oh, I gotta get my transients in, they're already going through. It's an adaptable limiter. So it adapts to whatever energy you're sending it, and then it corrects it and gives it what it feels that it needs. The God particle doesn't find the threshold in the mix. It's a static threshold that I'm not gonna say where it's at because I don't even pay attention to it. But I know if I'm hitting it too hard, I just pull back on the input and raise up the limiter. People look at these as EQs. I think I've explained this, but these are really not EQs. I call them push-pull because they're before the compressor. Now, if you look at it, you can say to yourself, man, I'm not hitting my indicator on my mid-range. I need a little bit more push into my mid-range indicator. All you have to do is...
Mein Spiegelbild Schrott.
Obviously, it's too much, so you can just... Same thing.
Mein Spiegelbild Schrott. Ich stehe im Bad und baue mich neu zusammen. Bisschen Eis für die Stirn, für den Drink in meiner Hand.
Ooh, boy, you're looking like you like what you see. Won't you come over and check up on it? I'ma let you work up on it. Ladies, let him check up on it. Watch it while he check up on it. Dip it, pop it, talk it, stop and check on me.
I see those headphones sitting back there. What are we working with?
Well, those are the ones I work on. They're the let me show you. They're the Odyssey LCD X's. I swear I hear 30 cycles on these.
Wow.
And then this is why I'm not wearing them now. It looks like that girl from Star Trek.
Star Wars.
Huh?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
So, and this is a preset he has of Whitney Houston, the vocal EQ of the Whitney Houston.
Yo, if this shit works, I'm changing my whole shit. You're telling me you put the match EQ and you put Whitney Houston preset in there, and then it matches it for you. Get the out of here.
Yeah. Well, I have two of them. I have her and
Rihanna.
And Rihanna.
So the next one we have is Rihanna. Then after that, we're going into Fresh Air.
Yeah, I have Michael Jackson and Prince in mine. So, no, real quick, Dave. So when you have a client that wants to listen or sit on the mix like they're somewhere else, do you use any program?
Audiomovers, yeah. It's very affordable. It's really good. And we use that. We use that a lot.
Fred again. He put us on the Audiomovers, and I think we were on, it was pre-pandemic. I think it's the best thing for mixing if you can't have the client come to your studio. It saves you endless amounts of time. Fantastic piece of software.
I'd like to look out and see happy faces, and Jay's giving you so much to learn, and he doesn't need to do this. The is rich.
What would be the top 3 skills or the top 3 most important things that every engineer should master?
Ooh, great question.
Well, patience for one. Right now, I've had people come and ask to work for me. They were with me for like a month, and then they wanted a raise. I don't understand that. I mean, I just don't understand that. But so I would say, make the process fun, because you don't want to sit there and just be pulling your teeth, you know. And so make sure that you really put the journey before the destination, because
be in the moment.
That's just the best way to work. Okay, that's number 1.
That's 2.
That was 3, right?
That's 2.
Look to your heroes. Don't say if you're wanting to work with Jay, instead of going and listening to Jay's work, go listen to what Jay listened to. You see what I'm saying? And then you can be just like Jay, or you can put a little of yourself in it, or you can put all of yourself in it.